many people have experienced something creepy at work. Well, listen to this. For context, I was a female and a junior in high school, working as a seasonal employee at a local garden center just outside Philadelphia. It was the summertime and I wanted extra cash to save up for a new car. It was an easy job for the most part and I got paid minimum wage, but all of my co-workers were really cool people, so that's what made it fun. One night, I was closing by myself. This place was pretty understaffed and closing alone was very common. It was dark outside and around 9 p.m. as I was doing my walk around to make sure the garden center was all set for the openers tomorrow morning. I was walking back inside our building when I heard what sounded like digging. I had all the lights outside turned off, so it was pretty hard to see. I squinted out into all the plants and mulch to try to locate the sound. Maybe a fox or a rabbit was in our mulch digging away, but in my heart of hearts, I knew it wasn't either of those because this sounded much larger. Nervous, I shined my cell phone flashlight around our outside area. I almost screamed when my light fell upon what was digging. It was a man. He was shirtless and hairy. He was bent over where we kept all of our mulch. He had a shovel and seemed to be throwing mulch on top of something. What that something was, I didn't know. I told the man we were closed and he needed to leave right now. The man panted hard, continuing to throw mulch on top of something. I repeated myself, this time saying I will get the police involved if he does not leave right now. He laughed, but it was a calm laugh. Somehow that was worse. The man turned slowly towards me, and I saw in horror that he was covered in blood. I mean literally from his head to shoes, covered in blood. He raised the shovel and charged right at me. I sprinted back to the garden center building and locked myself in my boss's office. I pushed the desk in front of the door for extra protection. The man is wailing on the door as hard as he could, screaming to let him in. I remember I was briefly reminded of that scene from The Shining. I knew I didn't have much time, so I called 911 and told them to get over here ASAP. Thankfully, they arrived within 5 minutes. I could hear officers yelling at the man to get on the ground. One of them came in and told me it was safe. The man was in custody. But here's where it becomes truly nightmarish. Police discovered what the man was burying in our mulch. It was a body. It was the man's ex-wife. Apparently, she was filing for full custody of their kids and he just snapped and killed her. And I still can't believe all this happened to me. It sounds like something straight out of a horror movie, but it was real. And I've since gone to law school and now convict wackos like this and gladly have them sent to jail. But yeah, that was easily the creepiest experience that I have ever had at work. Everyone has thought about death at one point. It's just natural. But have you ever actually come face to face with it? Here's my story. My boyfriend and I were shopping at our local garden center for new plants for our balcony. It was more so my idea to go since my boyfriend doesn't really care about plants and flowers. Anyway, I was looking for this very specific plant, but both my boyfriend and I couldn't seem to find it. I told him we need to split up, that way we can find it faster. Maybe about 10 minutes into looking for it, I became frustrated and decided to find an employee for help. I saw one and approached him. I told him the plant I'm looking for. He had this deadpan look on his face and his overall demeanor looked depressed, but he nodded his head and said follow him. And I'll be honest, he kinda creeped me out, but I desperately needed to find this plant, so I followed him. He brings me to the small shed at the back of the garden center. He opens the door and says they keep those plants in here. And I was hesitant at first because why would you keep plants inside of a dark shed? But honestly, I just wanted to get the plants and get out of there. So I stepped into the shed. The man stepped in behind me and that's when I heard the door lock. I knew I made a grave error. I saw the man hold up a huge pair of cutting shears. His eyes looked dead, like there was nothing left in them but pain and emptiness. He told me it was time to die, and lunged at me with the shears. I juked to the left, the shears narrowly missing my neck. He was clipping the shears like he wanted to chop off my head. As he was turning around for a second attack, I did the first thing I could think of. I kicked him as hard as I could in the nuts. He screamed in agony. I bolted for the shed door, pushed the lock open, and ran out of the shed screaming that he was trying to kill me. Employees, customers, and my boyfriend came sprinting over to see what was happening. I frantically explained what happened, but when the 5 men went in to go check the shed, the man who attacked me was gone. I told them it was an employee who attacked me. The manager asked who, and I described him. I was shocked to find that the man wasn't actually an employee at the garden center. He was an ex-employee. He was fired for his short temper and stealing. The police were eventually called, and a report was made. The man's name is Harold Griffin, and to this day, he still hasn't been caught. My theory is that he was a disgruntled ex-employee who snapped and just wanted to harm people. Sad, but this actually happens a lot more than you think, and I just so happened to be the one he wanted to attack that day. So that was my story of coming face to face with death at a garden center. I'm just thankful to be alive. Have you ever had something happen to you that you just couldn't explain? A few years back, I worked for my uncle, who owned a garden center on the outskirts of our small town. It was a very successful business, and we were always busy, especially in the summer. For context, I was an 18-year-old male when this story happened. Well, one night, I was closing the garden center by myself, something I did often. I was in my uncle's office, organizing some paperwork, about to head home, when I saw something strange on our front security camera. There was a man crouched down on his knees by our mulch. The time was 10 p.m. and we had been closed for almost 2 hours by now. I got up and went outside to tell the man that we were closed. When I got outside, I saw the man on his knees and hovering over the mulch. I approached him and told the man that we were closed and that he can come back tomorrow at 8 o'clock if he needs mulch. This is where it gets bizarre. The man turned to face me as he was chewing large amounts of mulch, like he was munching on a mouthful with this wide smile. I told him to drop the mulch. It's not his and he cannot eat it. It can make him sick. The man chewed and chewed. When he swallowed, he extended a handful and asked if I wanted any. I honestly didn't know if I should be afraid or extremely concerned. What kind of man just eats mulch like it's lunch? I told him our garden center is closed and he needs to leave now or I would get the police involved. The man nodded his head in agreement, dropped the handful of mulch, and then walked towards our exit. Satisfied to see the maniac leave, I went back into my uncle's office and finished the paperwork. 20 minutes later, I locked the garden center up, turned off all the lights, and headed for my car. I was about to put my car into drive when someone jumped onto my hood. It was that man again. He had handfuls of mulch in each hand, slamming on my windows and telling me I needed to eat it. It's part of a healthy diet. I put my car into drive and sped for the exit. The man flew off my hood and hit the ground. As I was about to pull out of the garden center parking lot, I saw in my rear view the man sprinting for my car, screaming I needed to eat the mulch. I hit the gas and sped off safely into the night. I called my uncle on my way home and explained what happened. He was just as baffled as me. I continued to work for my uncle another year until I went off to college. That entire time, I never saw that crazy man again. I can't explain what happened that night. Like there was no rhyme or reason for it. What possessed that man to come to our business that late and start eating mulch and then try to attack me and force me to eat it? I don't think I'll ever be able to explain it.